Hey, I'm Roman Gressier, the editor of Faro English. This is our last podcast episode of the year. We're thrilled to have covered 6 countries in Central America and their relationship to Trump's Washington. You can expect the last issue of our digital magazine, Central America Monthly, on Monday, December 15th. It's called The Dignity of Ruth Lopez. She's a prisoner of conscience in El Salvador and a person of the year. Our team at Faro English wishes you and your loved ones a Happy New Year. We'll be back in the office on Monday, January 5th, and we'll pick back up with our weekly episodes of Central American Minutes that Friday. But today we have a special episode for you. We teamed up for the 3rd time this year with Latino USA to bring you back to Guatemala, where a lie from the seat of power in Washington dealt a frontal blow to organizations providing vital services to the LGBTQ population. Reynaldo Leaños Jr. came to Guatemala to report this story, and he'll take things from here.
Futuro.
Futuro investigates. Futuro investiga.
It's early February 2025. President Trump is back in the White House, and he's wasting no time cutting government funds. Elon Musk, the world's richest person, is helping the Trump administration drive the effort. They're eviscerating what they call, quote, waste, fraud, and abuse across the federal government. Here's Elon talking about USAID, one of its main targets.
We started looking closely at USAID. This is a gigantic fraud loophole.
USAID is a US-backed government agency that provides humanitarian aid globally. After it was established into law in 1961, it became a lifeline for thousands of organizations around the world. Basically, the US has supported projects centered around democracy, anti-corruption, and other key initiatives like health. Foreign aid, like USAID, had bipartisan support up until this administration, and it was seen to be in the interest of the US. But now, since Trump took office again, his administration has canceled nearly $65 billion worth of USAID contracts, about 80% of its programs, and gutted the agency and its staff around the world. On top of that, the White House press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, latched onto a certain narrative around why funding cuts were needed.
I would just say a strong message to Democrats who are out there pretending to be outraged about the long list of crap that this administration is cutting, federal waste and funding, like $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala.
Yes, the White House press secretary said there were so-called sex changes happening in Guatemala using taxpayer dollars. The misleading claim was directed towards Asociación Lambda, a local organization that helps LGBTQ+ people in Guatemala. And that rhetoric from the White House had ripple effects more than 2,000 miles away.
Eran todos los días un medio de comunicación.
That's Carlos Valdez. He's the executive director of Lambda in Guatemala City. Carlos was just having a regular day when the office phone started ringing off the hook. Local and US media outlets were bombarding Lambda with calls for a response to the White House's claims.
Tuvimos que desconectarnos casi 15 días.
Carlos says it got so bad that they had to disconnect their phone for 15 days.
Vuelvo a repetir, ahí está el proyecto que no era cambiar sexo, como decía esta señora.
Carlos says it plainly. The White House lied. Lambda doesn't provide gender-affirming surgeries. What Lambda actually does is they help strengthen local activism, gather stats about the queer community, and they run a shelter for LGBTQ+ migrants. What is true is that Lambda's name was on a US government contract for $2 million from USAID, but it's more complicated than that.
Nosotros éramos los titulares del contrato y lo que hacíamos era apoyar a transformación.
Carlos explains how they didn't even use the USAID grant money. They were only the facilitators. The aid went to another local org, Transformación, which helps trans men in Guatemala with things like healthcare and economic programs. In essence, Lambda and Transformación became scapegoats, examples from the White House to help delegitimize USAID's overall work around the world. They were targeted, and the impacts were real.
From Futuro Media, it's Latino USA. I'm Maria Hinojosa. Today, we meet the people behind two organizations in Guatemala that are at the center of a misinformation campaign from the White House. We're going to look at the short-term and long-term effects of the gutting of USAID. And we'll learn what this means for U.S. diplomacy moving forward. Let me pass the mic back now to producer Reynaldo Leaños Jr.
I'm in Guatemala City, and I'm about to meet Alex Castillo, the co-founder and director of Transformación. Remember, they received some funding from USAID, but it came through Lambda, the organization I mentioned earlier. That's Alex Castillo. He's wearing a shirt with the company logo on it and some loose pants. His hair is short, gelled, and kind of spiked.
Y esto que es una camilla que es donde nos difamaron que era donde se hacían las operaciones de cambio de sexo.
He wastes no time and starts to show me their now infamous clinic where, according to the Trump administration, the so-called sex changes are happening. The clinic is small. There's a desk, a bed, a divider for privacy, and large cabinets pushed against the back of the wall that are filled with medications and medical equipment. Alex's wife is also here. She's a primary doctor at Transformación.
Mi nombre es Yusimil Carrasana Hernández.
She lists some of the services they offer.
Las poblaciones trans no solo buscan hormonas, porque como todo ser humano,
Yusimil says the trans community isn't just looking for hormones. They also have other needs.
pueden ser portadores de enfermedades crónicas que en algún momento se pueden agudizar, como por ejemplo ser diabéticos, ser hipertensos, tener enfermedades de la tiroides.
They provide regular medical exams, blood work, and treatment for conditions such as diabetes and hypertension. I ask her, why is it important to have a space like this? Couldn't they go to any medical provider to get these same services?
Sí, es importante porque en este espacio nosotros no estigmatizamos.
Here, we don't stigmatize people, she says. In Guatemala, trans people face extreme violence, largely in obscurity. The Guatemalan state doesn't recognize their existence, so there's no official counts of trans homicides in the country. Each year, organizations like Lambda document dozens of murders of LGBTQ+ people in the country. And there's also no anti-discrimination laws protecting them. Alex Castillo knows all too well about this. Alex was born biologically female. When he was 43, he realized he was trans. Alex is now 54. At the time, there wasn't a lot of information around being trans.
Porque nunca hay un espacio para personas como nosotros.
Why isn't there a communal space for people like us, he would ask. He searched all around but couldn't find one. So he decided to start his own. He called it Transformación. That was 12 years ago. Alex opened a small clinic and did what he could to raise awareness about their community. Slowly, his collective began to grow through donations and extensive volunteer work. Then, in 2023, there was an opportunity to receive money from USAID. And to be clear, this decades-long financial commitment isn't just charity. Many experts say it's a strategic tool of American influence. This kind of influence was part of the reason why USAID was established in the first place, when it was signed into law by President John F. Kennedy.
People who are opposed to aid should realize that this is a very powerful source of strength for us.
This so-called strength is often referred to as soft power, which refers to the promotion of U.S. values and interests through foreign aid, rather than military force. Many organizations have benefited from the aid, but it's also helped the U.S. by allowing them to build goodwill and strengthen its alliances. Now, Alex Castillo had a chance to expand his dream of providing more services to the trans community in Guatemala. So, he applied for the grant. Then, a few months later, to their surprise, they were awarded the grant money.
Realmente no lo creíamos.
He couldn't believe it. According to government documents, the multi-year grant was for $2 million. The money would be allocated in chunks between April 2024 and April 2027. This amount of money goes a long way in Guatemala because the US dollar is strong there. And Alex had a vision on how to use that money. But a storm started to brew on the horizon. Donald Trump was on track to win the 2024 presidential election.
Yo sabía que venía algo muy fuerte en contra de nosotros, pero nunca me imaginé a tal punto.
Alex knew they were about to go up against something formidable, but he didn't know to what extent. Then, Trump won. And just a few days later, they received a letter that said, quote, "We are hereby informing you that USAID Guatemala is terminating this award per the executive order from President Trump."
No sabía qué iba a pasar.
Alex was devastated. His dreams were shattered. He laid off staff, scaled back services, and wasn't sure he'd be able to continue to afford the new building they'd recently moved into. But it wasn't just his organization that suffered. Around the world, the impact was great. About 83% of all USAID contracts have been canceled since Trump's executive order. That's more than 5,000 contracts globally. And on top of that, the misinformation against Lambda and Transformación from the White House spread quickly. Local press got wind of the White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt's statement and soon discovered that Transformación was the true recipient of the USAID money, not Lambda. They got bombarded by calls from locals, harassing them and asking them questions like, how many sex changes have they done?
A la doctora, ataque tras ataque porque como ella...
Alex's wife and the primary doctor at Transformación received the brunt of the attacks, asking, what right does she have to change the sex of someone? In an email response, a State Department representative said that funding Lambda did not make the U.S. stronger, safer, or more prosperous. They also said they needed to ensure that they had programs that were of national security interest to the U.S.
Coming up on Latino USA, producer Reynaldo Leaños Jr. looks at the ripple effects from the slashing of USAID. Stay with us, no te vayas. Hey, we're back. When we left off, we met Alex Castillo of Transformación. It's an organization that serves trans people in Guatemala. We learned about the day he lost USAID funding for his organization. We're going to get back now to Latino USA producer Reynaldo Leaños Jr. as he reports on how USAID and migration go hand in hand.
Lambda's work in Guatemala goes beyond supporting LGBTQ plus people. They also operate a shelter that houses LGBTQ plus migrants.
Soy Alejandro Morales y soy el coordinador del albergue Espacio Seguro LGBTQ+.
That's Alejandro Morales. He runs the shelter, which he says can house up to 24 people. Many people in the region leave their home countries due to violence, discrimination, and lack of economic opportunities.
Tratamos de que las personas tengan un trato digno.
He says they try to give them dignity here. This is something that Alex, the founder of Transformación, also echoes with the people he works with. But for LGBTQ plus people, there is also a huge safety component, because for a lot of them, it's dangerous just to exist.
Yo soy de Venezuela, yo tengo 22 años.
This is Angela, and that's not her real name. We're using a pseudonym to protect her. She's 22 and from Venezuela. Angela says she left home after being threatened by local gangs. And she couldn't be herself, nor did she see a future where she could live freely as a trans person.
Para nadie es un secreto que el único trabajo que se puede conseguir siendo una chica trans es trabajando sexualmente. Y allá es muy peligroso.
It's no secret that back home, the only work trans women can get is sex work, she says. And it's very dangerous.
Y matan muchas las personas trans.
Many human rights organizations have consistently reported that trans people are disproportionately murdered across Latin America. Angela's ultimate goal was to reach the US, where she believed life was better and safer than back home in Venezuela. Angela left with her sister and traversed through the deadly Darien jungle. They safely crossed several countries until Angela was sexually harassed in Honduras.
Entonces llegamos aquí a Guatemala.
Then they arrived in Guatemala. Their money had run out, so Angela stayed behind. She didn't want to burden her sister and the other travelers they met along the way.
Yo me sentí súper mal.
She felt really sad that she had to stay in Guatemala and be separated from her sister. Without a place to stay in a foreign country, Angela was lucky to find shelter at Lambda.
Me siento segura, puedo ser como yo quiero ser, expresarme.
She says, I feel safe here, and I can be me and express myself the way that I want to.
Lambda se ha convertido en mi segunda familia.
Lambda has become her second family, she says. But that feeling of safety is fleeting.
Ya sabiendo que soy una chica trans, ya las personas me empiezan a decir cosas, empiezan a discriminarme.
Angela says when people find out she's trans, they start to harass and discriminate against her. She's hoping that she'll be able to seek asylum in Guatemala, or maybe one day make it to the US. But for now, she's happy to be in this space because she feels safe. And that feeling of safety and stability is something many USAID projects hoped to build for people in their home countries, according to Milady Guilarte. She worked under the Biden-Harris administration. Milady was the Deputy Assistant Administrator for the Latin American and Caribbean Bureau at USAID.
My role was to oversee our agency's operation from Panama all the way through Mexico.
She has more than 2 decades of experience in this space. So when she saw the decimation of USAID in early 2025, she couldn't believe it. Since this summer, USAID has been officially shut down, and the remaining obligations were absorbed by the State Department.
I was in denial first. I knew that we had systems in place where you couldn't just get rid of an agency.
One of the things that bothered me lately was the silence from Capitol Hill, because for a long time, there was bipartisan support around foreign assistance. She wondered why many representatives and senators weren't speaking out, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who had previously voted in favor of many current USAID projects when he was a Florida senator.
I would tell you that the real problems in America's spending is not foreign aid, which is a very small part of our budget.
That's Rubio in 2011, responding to concerns that a constituent had about America spending money abroad. And that fact remains true. For example, in 2023, foreign assistance, including USAID and other agencies, made up a little more than 1% of the entire federal budget. Milady knows these facts, which is why she was so shocked to see narratives about waste, fraud, and abuse begin to emerge from the Trump White House, Elon Musk, and Rubio himself. Many of the USAID-funded projects take months or years before they're actually implemented, including the grant that Transformación received. The vetting at the agency is something Milady saw firsthand.
It was grueling, the amount of paperwork that has to be done on a weekly basis to ensure that USAID knows what every project is achieving, the money that's being spent. There are a lot of regulations.
Milady says there was a series of checks and balances. It's the opposite of what the Trump White House and Elon Musk have said.
It was one of the most thorough agencies that our government has. We can't spend a cent without approval from Congress. So everything that we did had the oversight of committees, of staffers.
Milady also argues that foreign aid is, in fact, an American value.
By us choosing not to remain engaged in a lot of these countries that are our neighbors really puts us at a huge disadvantage because now China has stepped in a big way.
Over the last year, China has moved into countries like Cambodia and Nepal to help fill the void left by USAID. This is seen by experts as a way for China to gain geopolitical influence in regions across the globe.
We'll be right back. Hey, we're back. Latino USA producer Reynaldo Leaños Jr. is going to wrap up our story as we hear again from Milady about some of the current attacks on LGBTQ organizations that are located outside of the United States.
Besides misinformation about USAID, Milady says there was something else that was especially egregious to her. The Trump administration singling out certain projects like Lambda and Transformación.
There was nothing even close to sex change assistance going to any of these countries, not Guatemala, but nowhere in the world.
Milady says it was unfortunate to see the administration target so-called DEI programs and the LGBTQ plus community because these are communities that already go through a lot.
In the developing world, LGBTQI community has been ostracized, they're abandoned by their families, there's high suicide rate, lack of opportunities. It's damaging and completely hurtful.
Many of the projects that have been eliminated worldwide focused on combating climate change, HIV prevention, and hunger. Milady hammers down and stresses that many of these projects were also intended to help build stability in people's lives, so they don't migrate or stay in other countries.
When you start missing economic engines that are providing for you and your family, your first option is to leave. That creates a brain drain. It also stimulates illegal migration. It's a domino effect.
When there's a sense of instability or danger, like there was for Angela, the trans woman from Venezuela who we heard from earlier, people leave home, which is why the folks at Transformación are trying to provide safety for trans people in Guatemala. It's a big day today at the organization's office.
Es la fiesta con la base comunitaria por los 12 años que estamos cumpliendo como colectivo.
I'm back with Alex Castillo. Today, there's a small party to celebrate Transformación's 12th birthday. They lost a lot recently, but they still threw a celebration because they knew what it would mean to the people they worked with. There's loud music blasting, tables with prizes, a piñata with the light pink and blue colors of the trans flag, and a cart of hot dogs, or chucos as they call them in Guatemala. I ask him how he's feeling, because it's such an important day, and he's been through a lot recently.
Este año creímos que nos hacían desaparecer con la falta de recursos de USAID. Ves todo lo contrario.
This year, we thought they were going to erase us with the USAID funding cuts. But as you can see, he says, it's the opposite. They're still trying to get by. They have volunteers, people working on reduced salaries, and they're applying for funding elsewhere. As I look around, people are dancing, laughing, playing games, getting to know each other. And for a brief second in their lives, they're able to just exist without judgment. I ask Alex what it's like to see all of this.
Creo que me siento pleno y feliz porque sé que encontraron al fin un espacio seguro.
He says he feels happy because he knows they found a space where no one will bully or harass them.
Donde anda el hombre trans tranquilamente, sin que nadie le haga bullying, sin que lo lastimen, sin que lo humillen.
As the party goes on, Alex and his wife take the stage. They hype up the crowd, and Alex says he's proud to see how far this organization has come. All we had were a lot of dreams and a lot of ideas, he says.
Creo que hoy lo podemos ver concretizado con una realidad teniéndoles acá, realmente. Entonces creo que eso es lo que más celebramos y lo que es su vida.
Alex says those dreams have now solidified, and it's evident by the people in front of him. That's what he wants to celebrate today, their lives. He also brings up the USAID money scandal.
Demostramos que seguimos siendo resilientes.
We're showing that we remain resilient as a community, he tells the crowd. Later, there's cake. But it's not just a regular cake. The founders' faces are on it. And when the singing ends, a piñata that's covered in the colors of the trans flag. One by one, people take turns. They're blindfolded. They step up to take a swing at it. They're all cheering each other on, and then someone delivers the final blow. The candies come streaming out. Everyone in sync pounces onto the ground to scoop up as many sweets as they can. Alex and some of the other founders of Transformación look at the scene in front of them and smile at each other. They don't know exactly what their future holds, but they're going to keep fighting to continue to provide for the people here today. USAID money, for many, was seen as a way to expand dreams of helping people in their home countries, where there often isn't support for things like promoting the rights of LGBTQ+ people. And when I was leaving Guatemala, I had to ask myself, what exactly does it mean for something to be in the US's interest? And who gets to decide that? I had Alex's voice ringing in my ear because this was the same question he asked himself when the USAID money was pulled out from under him.
¿Cuánto están gastando en dinero en aviones donde retornan?
How much money is the US spending to put migrants on planes and deport them back to their home countries, he says. How much money is being used to fund wars abroad? And are Americans better off now than they were before USAID was decimated? These are the questions that Americans across the country will have to grapple with for the years to come.
This episode was produced by Reynaldo Leaños Jr. It was edited by Mitra, Bonshahi, and Peniley Ramírez. It was mixed by Julia Caruso. Fact-checking for this episode by Roxana Aguirre. Fernanda Echavarri is our managing editor. This episode was produced as part of the Investigative Reporting Fellowship of the Ida B. Wells Society. Special thanks to our co-publishing partner, Faro English. The Latino USA team also includes Rebecca Ibarra, Stephanie LeBeau, Luis Luna, Glorimar Marquez, Julieta Martinelli, Mónica Morales Garcia, Paloma Perez, JJ Carubin, Anelo Reyes, Adriana Rodriguez, and Nancy Trujillo. Peniley Ramírez and I are executive producers. I'm your host, Maria Hinojosa. Latino USA is part of iHeart's My Cultura podcast network. Executive producers at iHeart are Leo Gomez and Arlene Santana. Join us again on our next episode. In the meantime, I'll see you on all of our social media. And don't forget, dear listener, join Futuro Plus. You'll get to listen to our episodes ad-free. You get cool bonus content, and you'll be supporting Futuro, which does the kind of reporting that you love. So join Futuro Plus. Muchas gracias. Hasta la próxima. Ciao.
Latino USA is made possible in part by the Tao Foundation. The Annie E. Casey Foundation creates a brighter future for the nation's children by strengthening families, building greater economic opportunity, and transforming communities. And the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation.